Campaign 2020 now, and a Super Tuesday shakeup tonight. Actually, a pre-Super Tuesday shakeup. Both Amy Klobuchar and Pete Buttigieg getting behind former Vice President Joe Biden in his bid for the White House.
Both Buttigieg and Klobuchar dropped out of the Democratic primary over the weekend. Their endorsement for Biden comes just days ahead of Super Tuesday, as Rick just mentioned, when voters in 14 different states will be going to the polls. Now, besides Biden, Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren are still in the race. Tonight, Rashad Richey joining us for more on that Super Tuesday shakeup. Good evening, Rashad. How are you?
Good evening. How are you?
I'm wonderful. You know, 14 states and one U.S. territory are at stake for this.
Yeah, it's a big deal. And let's look at the numbers, because I hear a lot of people saying, oh my goodness, they're coming after Bernie Sanders. Well, this is called strategy. This is how you play the game of politics. And for those who are voting in this primary, each vote is important. Each vote counts, regardless if you're for Bernie Sanders or somebody else. But the simple math is this: 1,991. That's how many delegates you need in order to clinch the nomination on the first round. We're in the first round right now. You have a natural split of moderate Democrats. What's the natural split? Biden, Klobuchar, Bloomberg, Mayor Pete, and also Tulsi Gabbard, who's still in the race. So you basically have 5 options for a moderate Democratic vote. You really only have 2 options for a more progressive or liberal candidate between Bernie Sanders and Senator Elizabeth Warren. Going into Super Tuesday, Bernie Sanders looks to be the guy who would have left with the lion's share of delegates, and the organic split would have happened with the moderate Democrats. By having moderate Democrats jump out of the race and endorse Joe Biden, he now has a chance not only to stop Bernie Sanders from getting the 1,991, he could possibly get it himself.
Yeah, but what happens if he does not do well? I mean, South Carolina is not an indication for the entire state when it comes to the black vote.
Yeah, he doesn't have to do great. He just has to be competitive. Remember, all of these states have what's called a 15% threshold. Each congressional district, you must get at least 15% of the vote in order to get delegates. Statewide, you have to do the same thing. Let me give an example. California, right? California has over 400 delegates up for grabs. Roughly 200 of those delegates are how you do statewide, and the rest are allocated how you do per congressional district. So you don't necessarily have to win the state. You just have to meet those thresholds in every state. And Biden is very competitive at the 15% plus marker.
I've been listening to Bernie Sanders' language over the last 24 hours as these Biden endorsements have been sort of rolling in, undercutting the Sanders campaign. And it's what has struck me the most is how much he sounds like Donald Trump in 2016. He talks about how the establishment is coming after him, that this is rigged against him.
And if you see Donald Trump's recent tweet, he just tweeted out that Bernie is, the Democratic Party is trying to steal it from Bernie.
Right. Isn't that, you see that,
I see that as well. And nobody's stealing anything. This is how it works.
Yes.
Right? So it's a vote per vote. That's it. And if candidates would like to jump out of the race in order to endorse somebody else, that's exactly how it works. Nobody was complaining when AOC was endorsing Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
Right. But real quickly, though, these Bernie Sanders fans, these young first-time voters that are head over heels in love with Bernie Sanders, if he's not the nominee, are they going to come out and support somebody like Joe Biden?
Well, some of them will, some of them will not. And remember, the game of politics is chess, not checkers. So if you say your ideology, you put your ideology behind you to vote for somebody that personifies at least a lot of it and not all of it, that's how you actually play the game. If you sit down and do not participate in the electoral process, you guarantee that somebody else's vote is more powerful than yours.
We have 5 seconds left. I got to ask this quickly. I was in Selma and a lot of the candidates showed up. I saw Tom Steyer. I asked him, who are you going to endorse? He said he didn't know yet. And it's also Martin Luther King Jr.'s son said he didn't know who he'd endorse yet either.
Yeah, I doubt that. They're saying that for TV and for purposes unrelated to their personal
Oh, but you think
politics.
they have someone?
Oh, they already know who they're going to
support.
support.
Back Biden.
Yeah, I would say I would put my money on it.
Okay, well, I'm coming back if
Okay.
they don't. All right, CBS 46 is everywhere tonight. And don't forget that when it comes to these delegates and the fight for them, 14 states and 1 U.S. territory are at stake tomorrow. Stay with CBS 46. We'll bring you the very latest updates on which candidates lead and eventually take the more than 1,900 delegates tomorrow.
Thank you, Rashad.